Who is Melina, our fake finger maiden? With the DLC coming out, we are left with so many questions about the lore and who or what we will face in our journey into the Land of Shadows. One question that haunts me is who or what Melina, our fake finger maiden in the main game, really was, and what importance she'll have in the DLC. What we know about lore so far is that the lands between have been ruled by a corrupted Golden Order until we, the Tarnished, came along. The rulers, under the Golden Order, were the demigods and Queen Marika. We know that there are 3 known special demigods called Empyreans, those being Rannis, Melina, and Miquella. Empyreans, as established in lore, are those chosen by the greater will, born of a single god, to create their own new order and ascend to godhood. But what about Melina? What exactly is she, and why is she helping us? Well, early on in the game, she tells us that she was born at the foot of the Erdtree, and that her mother gave her a purpose that she has long forgotten. If we think logically about her birth, we can conclude that she is none other than one of Marika's children herself. So, establishing this fact about her identity, that she is Marika's child, this makes her at least a demigod. This makes sense, because she can perform feats for us that no mere mortal could do. To give a few examples, she turns our runes into strength throughout the game, allowing us to level up. Additionally, she provides herself as the special kindling that the finger crone describes that we'll need to burn down the Erdtree with. She also fights Morgott alongside us because she hates him for a certain reason that we'll discuss later. During that fight, he didn't recognize her either, which is also a very important detail to keep in mind. Another detail, to establish her identity a little bit further, is that she tells us she is both burned and bodiless. This leads us to believe that she is the soul or consciousness of one who is an Empyrean. Her body, however, is burned or lost, and she bears no shard of her own, though she is a demigod. Additionally, she makes it very clear to us she is not a finger maiden, but is willing to fill the role if we just bring her with us. This is because she is the soul of an Empyrean, not another Tarnished sent by the greater will to be our finger maiden. Therefore, she's operating on her own agenda. But wait, who is this spectral Empyrean, and why is she helping us? What's her real identity, and why did her demigod brother not recognize her? What does she really want? Before we answer all these questions, let's take a look at 2 other characters in Elden Ring that are reminiscent of our finger maiden. These 2 individuals being Saint Trina and Miquella. We'll start with Saint Trina. Saint Trina is a character shrouded in much mystery throughout the story, and there's little known about him other than the items we pick up along the way. The items that give us hints about this character are all the sleep items that we pick up in the game, such as Saint Trina's lily, Saint Trina's sword, the torch of Saint Trina, and many others. Some of the item descriptions tell us that this character is described as a youth of ambiguous gender, many not being able to decide whether they are a boy or a girl. One thing that is known about this youth, however, is that they appear as quickly as they disappear. This already sounds similar to how Melina quickly disappears and reappears at our sites of grace. Saint Trina is known to hate the greater will and hate the frenzied flame, both things that Melina seems to not care for herself, as she cautions us many times throughout the game to not go the path of the frenzied flame. Saint Trina also created a lullaby for the merchants in the frenzied flame prescription to ease their tormented minds and help them sleep. Saint Trina's magic is also the most effective way to defeat the godskins in combat. Finally, there is one more piece of information about Saint Trina that pretty much confirms his identity. However, not everyone knows about it because it's cut content from the game. This cut content involves an NPC named Rico. Rico sends you on a quest line where you end up in the Mogwin Dynasty area. Rico then confirms to us in a dialogue at the end of the quest line that would have been that Saint Trina is an alias for none other than Miquella himself. Now let's go into a little bit about Miquella and his story. Miquella, as already established, is another Empyrean demigod and a child of America, and he's the twin brother of the hardest boss in the game. In addition to Saint Trina, Miquella is also identified or represented by lilies, as we see, just like Saint Trina's lily, Miquella also has a lily called, you guessed it, Miquella's lily. Miquella has also been known to use sleep magic in many instances. He used the sleep magic on his sister to try to cure her scarlet rot. As his alias Saint Trina, he used sleep magic on all those suffering the curse of the frenzied flame, and he used it on himself when he conjoined himself with the Haligtree in an attempt to grow into an adult. He is also clearly not a finger maiden, as he is an Empyrean who had the potential to achieve godhood, but couldn't in his childlike state due to his curse of eternal youth. He not only created the Haligtree as a chance to break both his and his sister's curses, he also created it as a safe haven for those who had been spurned by grace, such as the misbegotten that we see all around the Haligtree town area. But the biggest reason of all that he created the Haligtree was to establish a new Erdtree, or a replacement for the existing Erdtree, completely devoid of the Outer God's influence, thus providing a means to an end to achieve godhood and a stable new order. Unfortunately, once Miquella was kidnapped by his half-brother Mog from his place of resting in the Haligtree then lost its life force. Miquella would never be able to achieve godhood this way, nor would he ever be able to cure his sister's curse through his original plan. His plans for a new order were destroyed in Mog's greediness, and he was left to sleep indefinitely. Okay, but what about Melina? How in the world does this all relate to her? Well, let's look at some similarities between her and Miquella, whom we've now established is also Saint Trina. Both Miquella and Melina are Empyreans. When Miquella was kidnapped, his body was burned. It is said to have been burned by the Formless Mother's flame, which is the magic Mog uses in the fight with us as the Tarnished. The Formless Mother was an outer god that Mog met somewhere in the underground, which, because she's part of the Greater Will, would be one of Miquella's true nemeses. Melina, as also established, was both burned and bodiless. Therefore, she is the soul or consciousness of an Empyrean who was burned. Miquella's soul, however, is subjugated to the dream world, as he is in this comatose state where his burned body rests. Melina also seems to be an amnesiac about her past. The only thing she remembers is her birth and that she had a mother who gave her a purpose. Her mother gave her her purpose long ago, but it has long since been forgotten, and that is why she seeks our help to find it again. In their current states, Melina is a soul, Miquella is a body, two halves of one potential whole. But let's look into this a little bit further. As established, both Miquella and Saint Trina use sleep magic, but what about Melina? Well, amazingly, she does too. We see this sleep power manifest in her one major time in the story. This is right after we fought the fire giant, when we're sitting at the Forge of the Giants ready to burn the thorns down. When we trigger the cutscene to burn down the thorns, Melina puts us to sleep instantly, in a similar way in which Ranni puts Kale to sleep when she gives us the spectral wolves at the Church of Ella. Another key detail that ties Miquella and Melina together is our spectral steed, Torrent. Melina gives us Torrent in the beginning of the game and tells us to treat him with respect. Her attitude of kindness and care goes not only towards those suffering, but also animals, which I think is a great detail. We also find out that Torrent had a former master, but we don't find it out through Melina. Instead, it is Ranni who tips us out on that detail. Though she does not clarify who the former master was, she does tell us that Torrent sought us out, similarly to how Melina has sought us out. It's mysterious how Ranni as well might be associated with this former master, but we'll save that one for another video. Anyways, continuing on, We gather the clue of the identity from the former master from the upcoming DLC. There's a teaser image that pictures a young, golden-haired, ambiguous-gendered person riding a spectral steed that looks almost exactly like Torrent. Everywhere in the game where Miquella has been pictured, whether it be in a statue or in a cutscene, he looks exactly like the teaser image from the DLC. I'd say with the evidence that we have, it's totally fair to assume that that is indeed Miquella on that steed. As additional confirmation, Miyazaki himself confirmed that this DLC would be focused around the sleeping Empyrean. Finally, Melina and Miquella share the same moral calling. They both despise the Greater Will and the Frenzied Flame as well. And they both seem to despise any outward influence, really, on the world of Elden Ring. They both strongly despise those who bow to the Greater Will and the Frenzied Flame. Anyone who continues the mistreatment of those who have been mistreated for ages. This would explain why Melina hated Morgott so much. He was one of those mistreaters who kept mistreating his own kind, the Omens. He was all about preserving the Golden Order that had been established by Marika and the Greater Will. This is why Melina hated him so much, and was happy to help you fight him in battle. Another reason why he could have not recognized her while you were fighting him was possibly because she is a soul, or a consciousness, of an Empyrean. I'd say at this point we've established enough information and enough textual evidence that she is none other than the consciousness of Miquella himself. Or she could be the dreamlike state that he's in, and the current representation of Saint Trina in the world of Elden Ring, while he remains dormant. The whole reason Melina wanted you to take her as a finger maiden is so that you could rise to status of Elden Lord without any influence of the Greater Will. Though she claims she has no purpose, she may have known all along exactly what she was doing, or she may have remembered along the way as she took you to the churches of Queen Marika, where she remembered the echoes of Marika there. And in doing so, she remembered what she was fighting for, a new order, devoid of all influence from the outer gods. She also could want something even larger scale than what we've already discussed. Maybe the reason why she wants you to take her to the flame at the Forge of the Giants is so that she can be burned. Not just for some noble sacrifice, but maybe there's another reason altogether. Something major. Something that the DLC might cover. You see, the act of burning her not only just burns her, it also burns the Erdtree, which in and of itself is a representation of the Greater Will in the world of Elden Ring. By burning her, it burns the vessel of their influence in the world, the thing that Miquella so badly wanted to replace. You're basically raising your metaphorical middle finger at the outer gods, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if Miquella planned this out all along to happen exactly as it did. I'd like to make the leap that, based on all the evidence we've gathered, Melina, Miquella, Saint Trina are all one and the same. The trinity, if you will, of this one Empyrean who is going to play a major role in the DLC. Melina is the bodiless and burned, dreamlike consciousness of the Empyrean whose physical body is burned, yet he lacks his consciousness. I'd like to wager that when we engage in the act of burning the Erdtree down and so burning Melina, it somehow either reunites soul with body through the sacred act of burning, or kills off his soul, therefore his body will awaken. This reminds me of how Ranni burned away her Empyrean flesh to get rid of the Greater Will's influence in her life. Burning seems to be a theme here in Elden Ring. And knowing what we know about why Melina would probably want us to do this, it makes sense why she would go as far to say that she would kill us if we go the path of the Frenzied Flame. Her whole purpose is to resurrect her real self, Miquella, so that he can continue with his plan to make his new order as a god. Additionally, as an extra little piece of bonus information, FromSoft has evidenced that Miquella will serve as our new guide in the DLC. This role would be the one that takes over Melina's old role. With all the evidence before me, I rest my case. Miquella, Melina, and Saint Trina are all one and the same. What do you all think? What did I miss? I'd love to hear your own theories in the comments.